Holmes sliding and spinning. Look, oh, there's a crash. Martin Kadlecik scores a victory. In the gravel, there was a crash in the opening corner. Three-way fight now along the pit straight. Wonderful stuff going on. Martin Kadlecik becoming this season's Renault CLIO Cup champion. So is Tomáš Pekas in the Mark V class. There's a crash already. Oh, that's a big one right at the start. And now he's absolutely dominated the 2023 CLIO Cup, having won absolutely everything. And cut. And with that, to Autodrom Most, hello and welcome once again from the Czech Republic. We are here to start the second half of the 2024 Renault CLIO Cup Championship. Everybody lined up on the starting grid with David Zivok, the Polish driver, leading the standings with 109 points to his name so far. However, on the starting grid, as you can see, it is his teammate slash team boss, Tomáš Pekas, who's lining up on pole position, having set a blistering lap time of 151.18 around this 4.2 kilometer racetrack in the qualifying earlier on today. And he beat David Zivok by, well, a tenth and a half, effectively. So David Zivok, together with Tomáš Pekas, on the front row of the grid, as we are seconds away from the formation lap here for the race number 1 in the Czech Republic. 3 rounds left in this year's championship, and this is the grid itself. Julian Śmiechowski on row number 2 in third, alongside him Bartek Mirecki with his brand new Renault CLIO. He put it on second row of the grid. Behind them, P5 Nikodem Sobčík, alongside him Filip Kunčer, 7th Nick Stefancic, and in 8th Nico Wüst. In P9 it is Miha Primožič, alongside him Ivan Pulic, behind them Reto Wüst, Katarzyna Terlikovská in 12th, having her car serviced by Karpek Racing Team as well. And we had a chance to chat a tiny little bit yesterday in the paddock, and she mentioned that it is immediately an improvement. Immediately it is great to see when you put your car in the hands of someone who knows what to do, and she can focus way more on her driving, so improving on the go with every single session. Ivan Sentic in 13th, Filip Bartoš in P14, and 15th place, that is Ivan Gustin. Behind them, Richard Meixner in the Mark IV Clio in 16th, from Tomáš Kazarka and Marko Kazarka slotting into 17th and 18th respectively on the grid. Further 25 minutes of racing action. We are slowly getting towards the finale of the Saturday's racing program. After this CLIO Cup race, we will make a break for the Twingo Quali, of which we are going to watch the races tomorrow, and we will top off Saturday's program with the 1 hour long endurance race a little later on. The Clio's on the formation lap. With Tomáš Pekář, about 1 million times champion of Renault Clio's, various series. You saw in the season highlights from 2023 that he was the champion of the Mark V class last year. That was still sort of half-half with Martin Kadlecík, back then the overall winner in the Mark IV Clio. But now we have more and more and more and more of the Mark Vs in the field, and not even just the Mark Vs in their original guise, but already we've got a plenty of the facelifted models that you may see based on their front bumpers and the mask and the headlamps, etc, etc. So the face is a little bit modernized to go along with the production version of the Clio, upon which this racing car is very much based. It's pretty much a standard serial car, stripped down of everything that's absolutely not needed for racing action. The roll cage is put in, and some racing bits and pieces, and off you go. One of the more basic forms of motorsport that you can do. That's why it's so popular around the world, and also affordable. Drivers are lining up on the starting grid, waiting for the green flag, i.e. for the signal from the track marshal that everything is ready for the starting procedure itself. The green flag is now in the air and the red lights are coming on. So the red lights are off and we are racing in Most. Tomáš Pekář from pole and Julian Śmiechowski had a good getaway. On the other hand, it seemed as though the 5th place Nikodem Sobčík was caught napping a little bit, and Śmiechowski immediately fighting with David Zivok, and alongside them it is Bartek Mirecki in the fight. There was a contact, Nick Stefancic getting hit from left and right, but somehow managing to drive away from the situation anyway, but he lost a bit of time. Got kisses from all around, and now he's got quite a large gap to the top 4. Śmiechowski being pushed from behind by Bartek Mirecki. There's fight, there's contact! Ooh, and that was David Zivok, and he sent the car of Julian Śmiechowski completely sideways. And how did Julian actually get it back in the straight line? That was a great piece of car control from Julian Śmiechowski. Of course, he lost a place in the process, and now it is Bartek Mirecki in the fight with David Zivok. So Polish fight among these three through the turn number 7. The quick right-hander, Tomáš Pekář, driving away from trouble. That was a very interesting fight among these three. And it is now Bartek Mirecki up in second from David Zivok and Julian Śmiechowski. Behind them, it must be Nick Stefancic, I believe, making his way through. We are completing the first lap of the race with Tomáš Pekář firmly in the lead, enjoying a couple of seconds over his nearest opposition. Tomáš Pekář across the line right now. Bartek Mirecki already 2 seconds further back. defending hard from Dziwok and Śmiechowski. Into the first corner we go. Nick Stefancic in fifth. Oh, more contact. More sideways action. These guys are really going for it. Very aggressive, but very exciting to watch. Absolutely spectacular action right at the start of the Renault Clio Cup race. Bartek Mirecki somehow still holding on to second. Śmiechowski around the outside on Dziwok. Side by side together through this twisty stuff. Dziwok, this was not very good from him. And Nick Stefancic immediately senses a chance and sends his car down the inside. Up to fourth he goes. Great stuff from the Slovenian. He immediately appeared on the spot and stole what was there up for grabs. So Nick Stefancic. Ooh, and big trouble for Jan Śmiechowski, who is now leaving the track, skips across the grass. And that very nearly sent him against the barrier. Somehow he managed to keep it in the correct direction and found his way back on the track, but lost 2 places in the process. Nick Stefancic moves up to third, therefore. Dziwok down in fourth from Śmiechowski. Bartek Mirecki in second, and he's now shaken off the pressure from the cars behind, which means that he may now start to focus on Tomáš Pekař up in the lead. Let's see the lap times. This is the first proper one. First, that's actually informative, because the opening lap of the race is always sort of fogged up with everything that's going on the opening lap. Nick Stefancic having to go defensive. Is it gonna work? No is the answer. Dziwok comes through. Śmiechowski very fast there as well, appeared on the scene and surprised Stefancic in the other part of the chicane. Sent it down the inside into the left-hander part of the chicane. And he is now side by side with Stefancic. The Slovenian doesn't want to give in. Who is going to be more aggressive under braking? It is the Polish driver in Janik Motorsport colours who is now prevailing. 1:52.2 from Tomáš Pekař as the new fastest lap of the race. Bartek Mirecki lost 0.7 of a second in that situation, and we've had a gigantic crash on the start and finish straight. Car number 5, there you see it. That's car number 5, which is Tomáš Kazarka in the ARC Bratislava colours, and we have got the safety car out. Another Clio stranded on the grass. On the inside, you can see it right on the top of your screen, the bottom part of that car that has been left there. That must be Filip Kunčer, and he seems to have been there for some time already. Ooh, and a piece of barrier completely torn out. Whoa, this even calls for a red flag. I am worried, and this must have been a very nasty shunt indeed. Oh my goodness. That was a big one, and Tomáš Kazarka still sat in his car. I don't... That was a massive one. And he sent it directly against the barrier. He's moving in the car. That's the most important. He's trying to get out of the car on his own. But look at that. So much debris. So much of fluids from the car, of course. And I believe that the race will be red flagged, I believe. Still no such information from the race control. We are still keeping it behind the safety car. Theoretically, we might be sending the safety car with the entire pack through the pit lane. That's also a possibility, but we definitely shouldn't be allowing the entire snake of cars down the pit straight now, because that is now a mess, a huge mess. Piece of barrier torn out. There's oil coolant on the track. There's tires on the track, and a car crumpled like a discarded crisp bag. Safety car will go through the pit lane from the next lap. There's the confirmation, but this will take time. This will definitely take time. I know that we are already... It's just the car stopped really so shortly. That was a gigantic hit. And the energy absorbed in that crash. Luckily, it wasn't into the concrete wall. It was a tire barrier that is installed in that section. As of course, this is something that you anticipate, that exiting quite fast final corner with the bitey exit curb, you may be expecting that somebody bins it like that, and yeah, sends the car spinning across the track and into the barrier on the other side, on the inside. So tire barrier correctly installed there, but still it had to absorb a ginormous impact, which of course then stopped the car in virtually no time and sent it careering completely across the track on the other side again. And that was a huge one. And we really hope that everything is fine with Tomáš Kazarka, who still remains seated in the car, but he's communicating with the track marshals and they are already getting the car ready for it to be towed away. So I would assume that Tomáš is there actually to help with the clear away. Now he's stepping out of the car, but he's walking on his own. Doesn't seem to be hurt very much. Of course, it's very frustrating. It's not going to be a cheap crash. You'll see even that crash structure that's completely torn out of the car, that black thing. That's now lying on the grass right in front of the car. But yeah, but this will really take time. I mean, I know that we are reaching the really later stages of the day, and we have to keep in mind that the sun is not going to be out forever, of course, and the program is really packed already anyway. But I still think that the race should rather be red flagged. Either way, we're keeping it behind the safety car. That's the official version right now. And safety car is coming through the pit lane, so actually no immediate risk for the track marshals and everybody working at the scene of the accident right now, of course. So we may be using, of course, that type of procedure, but we are going to lose a vast majority of the race behind the safety car, because this is not going to be a quick action, of course. That sort of cement mix that needs to be put on the track to treat all the fluids that have been spread out across the start and finish straight. Other marshals, of course, are sweeping all the other debris and all the stones that have been thrown out. And the time is still running. We've got 13.5 minutes left on the clock. So we are reaching the halfway mark of the race. We've done 2 or 3 racing laps. Since then, of course, we've been circulating around, behind the safety car. With now 1 lap taken over 3 minutes, of course. As the pace is now much slower behind the safety car. Tomáš Pekář has been leading the way since the start. He got a great getaway He didn't really allow anyone into any sort of chance. The race is red flagged. Now it is there, the red flag is out, the race is stopped, but I believe that everyone will still... No, they will not enter the pit lane. That's a bit surprising now, because the safety car is now returning back onto the start and finish straight. We may as well have stopped the entire row of cars in the pits, as we've been coming through the pit lane anyway. But there's still work being carried out. So everyone will now drive through the scene of the accident, will stop on the straight, and then we will wait for Kazarka's car to be towed away and everything to be cleared again. The barrier has presumably already been checked. Not sure if we need any further repair of it. Either way, Tomáš Pekař drove away from any sort of trouble that unraveled behind him, and then we had a wonderful fight between or among three Polish drivers. Bartek Mirecki currently second from David Dziwok and Julian Śmiechowski. Nico Wüst and Reto Wüst, the two Swiss drivers, in 5th and 6th. Katarzyna Terlikowska made it up to 7th by now. So really great race from her, as she started, let me check that once again, from 12th. So gained 5 spots. Good drive from her so far, as we are re-watching the entire situation once again. Filip Bartosz in 8th from Richard Meixner. He's made it up to 9th from 16th on the grid. Nikodem Sobczyk in 10th. And Nick Stefancic dropped it to 11th. Right before the safety car came out. That's a pity. 10 minutes to the restart behind safety car. Okay. Miha Primožić in 12th. He lost a couple of places. Ivan Pulic is now in 13th. And then it's Ivan Sentic, Marko Kazarka, Ivan Gustin. And we've lost Filip Kunčer. It must be his car stranded on the inside, right next to the entry to the first corner. So Kazarka's car will have to be carefully taken away from the track. Just make sure that nobody falls under the car. Careful, it's a moving vehicle. And you see that it was hit from every single angle imaginable in that accident. So the rear bumper hanging off, the entire underbody, the cover also hanging off, and the entire front end being smashed to pieces. So the hit definitely damaging the engine itself as well, probably maybe even the gearbox. We'll see. And that's the barrier. And I still think that was the two tires that jumped and skipped across the track were from the barrier, because it was a pair of tires that wouldn't come off a car, of course. That has one tire per corner, of course. But there was a segment of barrier being completely chewed out of the barrier and skipped across the track. And I still think that the covering layer that's put there over the tires should probably be at least revisited by someone, because if we get another hit into the same place, I'm not sure that the barrier is now 100% okay. And of course, we do not wish that something like that happens again, but you've got to assume that if it can happen once, it can happen anytime again. That's the important thing. There's Bartek Merecki out of his car. The tall guy in the predominantly black overall behind his car. Tomáš Pekař was also out. And this is the car of Filip Kunčer being towed away. Car number 50. That isn't damaged, but for some reason, due to some sort of a technical issue, probably was stopped in that section of the track. So it's now being towed away behind the barrier. As the race is red flagged, we've got plenty of time and space to clear everything away for the racetrack to be safe again, so that we can resume the racing action. The clock stopped at 12 minutes 57 seconds, so we will still have pretty much a half of the race distance to go. We'll do the first lap behind the safety car and the clock will start ticking. Let's see the best pieces, the highlights of the race so far. This was the start. Nick Stefancic getting hits from right and left. Then a great Polish fight here. This time Śmiechowski ahead and then driving absolutely sideways. So actually he was sent into the full spin by David Dziwok, but the same driver then corrected the direction of Śmiechowski's car. And the battle raged on. It was a beautiful one. And Filip Kunčer then had to retire the car. So that's what happened in the opening. I was going to say half of the race, pretty much, yeah, but we only did, what, 2-3 laps under green conditions before the race was neutralized after a huge, huge shunt of Tomáš Kazarka. This is the type of a crash that you never ever want to experience, because if it at least was at a different angle, and yeah, it's a tire barrier, so it can't really do that, but you know, if you have a crash and the car sort of keeps going at speed and you know, lose all that kinetic energy in a longer process, then it's a tiny little bit, I was going to say nicer, but just, you know, less terrible, I would rather call it. But if you literally stop the car in no time, that's where you really get the hit. And that was a nasty, nasty shunt for Tomáš Kazarka. We're really glad to have seen him get out of his car on his own and walk away. So, you'll notice that the team members are starting to clear the grid once again. So everyone is moving away from the grid, leaving just the drivers in their cars at the start, which means that we are really getting close to restarting the Renault CLIO Cup race. Here, we've already had red flag earlier on, when we had that massive crash in the GT Sprint to open the day with. 1 minute to the start of the restarting procedure. The safety car will move away from the grid with all the drivers behind it, rejoining the racing action at the end of that one lap. Tomáš Pekař He put his car on pole position earlier on today, using his experience. It's been not very easy today, with slight spots of rain bothering the track on occasions, but not actually during the CLIO Cup qualifying. That was the latest one to be contested before the lunch break, after which we started the racing action. And we are now restarting the race, so time is already ticking down again. 11:11 at the moment. Safety car leading the pack, but at the end of this lap it will return back to the pits and we will go green again here in Most. Tomáš Pekař in the first place from Bartek Mirecky, David Živok in third, the championship leader. Julian Šměchovský in fourth from Nick Štefančič, Miha Primožič actually sixth. So there was a slight issue with the live timing as the race got red flagged. Miha Primožič was shown way further down the field, somewhere in 12th, but that's not true. He is in P6. There it is, the Alpine liveried Renault Clio. And then Nico and Reto Wust in 7th and 8th from Ivan Pulic. How much more advertisement coverage you can get in one shot. Beautiful look through. And there we go, along with the cars. Ivan Pulic in 9th from Katarzyna Terlikowska. She's in 10th. From Filip Bartoš, Ivan Sentic, Richard Meixner, Marko Kazarka, Ivan Gustin and Nikodem Sobčík. 16 cars still in the race. We've lost 2. One was Tomáš Kazarka after that big accident, and the other one, Filip Kunčer. Safety car still on the track, so we are not restarting immediately. Probably we want to give the entire pack at least one more drive over that dusty bit of track that's been treated. So we'll clear away the powder a little bit. But from the next lap, I see no reason why the race shouldn't be restarted. We already have only 9 minutes left, so not a lot of racing action left for us anyway. It was Tomáš Pekař who scored the victory in the first race of the season at Balaton Park. Then the second race was won by Bartek Mirecky. Then it was David Živok taking a clean sweep of the round in Austria at the Red Bull Ring, also with a pole position to his name, giving him further 5 points. Slovakia Ring round bring first victory for Nick Štefančič, and actually a double victory for Nick Štefančič, which helped him move to the second place in this year's standings. And now we're coming to Most, and it is Tomáš Pekař leading the way again. Right before the restart, safety car will come back to the pits at the end of this lap. It is already doing so, and we are waiting for that green flag signal to get us restarted here in Most. Around the final couple of corners we go. Tomáš Pekař lost the entire lead that he had built up prior to the red flag period. But we are racing again, and Tomáš has to do it all over again. Green flag is out. And we are racing into the first chicane. Pekas from Bartek Mirecki, David Divok in third, Julian Śmiechowski in fourth. Stefancic, Primožič, those are other two CLIOs in fifth and sixth. So through the first chicane we go safely with no incidents. Spotted. Tomáš Pekař coming under pressure. Bartek Mirecki right on his tail, probably even giving him a slight push into the left-hander. Bartek Mirecki with renewed chance of actually getting to the first place. It took him a little bit of time to actually get to second in the race, but then by then he was trailing Tomáš Pekař by a couple of seconds, but Tomáš lost all the gap. Due to the safety car period, of course. Just under 6 minutes, Tomáš trying to cut the corner as much as possible, putting both right-hand side wheels all over the curb. And now at the exit again, using the entire width of the track that's available. Now twice right, and back onto the start and finish straight. And Julian Śmiechowski trying a surprising move. There's contact between him and David Divok. Śmiechowski tried exactly the same thing that worked on Nick Stefancic before the safety car. Now they are side by side. Divok doesn't really want to yield. There they go. Rear lock-up for Bartek Mirecki. But Śmiechowski sent it really deep into the chicane. It appeared that he was not really attempting any sort of move into that corner, but he sent it really deep and appeared right next to David Divok. Same thing that we witnessed a couple of years back in that fantastic championship battle in the TCR, back then between Petr Semerád and Bartosz Groszek. Look, David Divok absolutely glued onto the car ahead. They drove pretty much the entire section in contact, in touch with one another. And through the right-handers with 3.5 minutes left. This is still very much open. And Nick Stefancic is now trying to line up for a move as well. He's getting ready for his chances. Across the line we go, on to another lap, 9 laps completed. So we are on the 10th one. Śmiechowski currently safe ahead, but is Divok going to do the same thing that lost him the place on the previous round? No. Śmiechowski holding on to third. And with that, the remaining podium position. But this is the fight for the race victory. Pekař still defending hard from Bartek Mirecki. He's not really letting the local driver to get away. Through the hairpin. And this is the fight further back. It's Miha Primožič leading this group from Nico Wüst and Reto Wüst. And also Ivan Pulic. Staying close together. Primožič having to go defensive. This is a very close fight, 1.5 minutes left. Back onto the start and finish straight. We might still have 2 laps. And Primožič defending. Ooh, and Nico Wüst got his chance round the outside, but they touched, and was Reto Wüst that immediately tried it round the other side, but then they touched. And now it is again Nico Wüst that should be ahead. There's Ivan Pulic, who also got himself ahead of Miha Primožič. Primožič has got damage, not a huge one, but it's definitely not helping anything. It is Nico Wüst up ahead. Where's the car number 46 or car number 48? They chose very, very similar racing numbers and painted their cars absolutely identically. So it's very hard to actually tell them apart from one another. Okay, so this is the last lap. 5 seconds left. The time will be up by the time we get back to the start and finish straight. The time is up right now, and Tomáš Pekář on course for another victory. Not that many this season so far. Tomáš Pekář has not followed his opening victory from Balaton Park with another one, but he is about to do that today. Tomáš Pekář takes a victory in the delayed red flagged race. Number 1 here at Autodrom Most. Tomáš Pekář victorious on his home soil, quite close to his hometown of Mělník. It is Bartek Mirecki coming home closely second. 3/4 of a second between them across the line. Bartek Mirecki was putting a huge pressure on Tomáš Pekář, but Tomáš Pekář, he has got all the experience there is to be had in the Renault CLIO Cup racing, so that's not something he is going to bend under. David Živok, the championship leader, third across the line from Nick Stefancic, so Živok actually extending his lead by further 2 points, which is, further 3 points, which is very important for him. Of course, Julian Śmiechowski in the end only 5th, Nico Wüst ahead of Reto Wüst in 6th and 7th, Ivan Pulic in 8th, Katarzyna Terlikowska in P9, Filip Bartoš finishing the top 10. Behind him, it's Richard Meixner, who's also scoring the victory in the Mark IV class. Behind him, Ivan Sentic, Nikodem Sobčík, Miha Primožič fell down to 14th in the end. Something wasn't quite right with his car on that final lap. Ivan Gustin, Marko Kazarka completing the classification, and of course through the race we lost Filip Kunčer for probably technical trouble, and Tomáš Kazarka after that huge accident that got the race red flagged. Exciting action, as is usual for the Renault CLIO Cup racing. So a great one again. Next time we can definitely do without such big shunts. But the racing action on the track was thrilling as ever.